secrets lay sleeping. Oh, yeah. Squatch-D TV, they're on the case. Steve and Chris, no mystery they can't face. Busting hoaxes, exposing lies. They're the champs of the Bigfoot mystery. Mystery. Bringing truth, science, and clarity. Squatch-D TV, they're the real deal. Uncovering the truth, it's time to reveal. Squatch-D TV, take us on your quest. Find the legend, put the rumors to rest. Late at night, shadows creeping. Deep in the woods, secrets lay sleeping. Oh yeah. Squatch-D TV, they're on the case. Steve and Chris, no mystery they can't face. Busting hoaxes, exposing lies. They're the champs of the Bigfoot mystery. Bringing truth, science, and clarity. Squatch-D TV, they're the real deal. Uncovering the truth, it's time to reveal.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Coles, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D TV. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, July 14th, 2024. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Texas Steve Coles, along with my co-host right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hello, Chris. How are you today?
Good to see you, Steve. Man, it's been another hot day out there today, but we've been kind of like huddled up under the air conditioning.
Well, you know, I tend to be a hermit now, so I scramble out maybe once a day.
Yeah.
But
big change while you're being an invalid there, trying to get healed up.
And going well. Going well, I might add. No complaints.
That's good.
Good. So, is it perfect? No, but it is what it is. So we just keep on trucking. So, I got to say, it's been really a slow news week.
Yeah, not much happened.
But anyway,
Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's just about Bigfoot. There is no other world but Bigfoot. It's the only way to, believe it or not, it's kind of amazing. The Bigfoot world is kind of the sane ones lately. So, but anyway, we have a hell of a show on tonight. We got our good friend Lori Wade right down there. Hello, Lori.
Hi.
So
How you
this
doing?
is good. Well, this is what Chris and I do for the first few minutes. We yap about weather and stuff to let people kind of meander on in, and it's almost time for the roll call. Geez, I got nothing. You know what? Usually I start prepping things Sunday morning for next Friday already. And with all the stuff that's going on in the country right now, I really didn't spend much time dealing with anything in the Bigfoot world today.
Well, yeah, I think it would probably be safe to go ahead and wish everybody a speedy recovery.
Yep, exactly.
Then, our hearts go out to those people that were affected by what happened Saturday.
And especially to the one that lost their life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Or lives, I should say. Because, you can demonize the shooter. But he was only 20 years old. He's a kid.
Oh,
and
Some
And-
parents still lost their child.
That's right.
Yeah. And you gotta wonder, well, how the hell did he steer so wrong? What can I say? It's a loss all around. There's no winners. So, but anyway, let's get positive. Let's have a little fun tonight. But before we get into the roll call tonight, I just wanted to espouse a couple of things. First of all, the new Game of Thrones program, not too bad at all.
Yeah,
I'm finding
yeah.
it kind of very
House of
interesting.
the Dragon. Yeah,
House
I've
of the
enjoyed
Dragon.
that.
It's very good. So usually what I do is after the show, I'll chat. Chris and I usually chat for about a half hour or so afterwards, at least. Sometimes, like some days, we're there for 2 hours talking.
2 hours. Yeah. But after the show, we're going to go watch the House of Dragons.
House of Dragons. Yeah, we usually chat longer on Fridays, and we usually chat a little shorter now on Sundays.
Show.
The one big disappointment, I think, is the Acolyte. Not digging that program too much. I think the story is very weak. I think the characters are very weak, and
The Mandalorian, it is not. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not digging it all that much. I mean, I'm watching it, and some of the scenes are cool, but I'm like, I'm not buying the bad guy. I'm not buying the heroine. I'm not buying the heroine. Sound like a bad drug dealer.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Don't buy the heroin. Okay.
Yeah, wrong heroin.
Right.
So that is that. I don't know if you've been catching any of the secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. Let's get on to the macabre, or the interesting topics.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff goes on there.
Lori, have you been watching the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch?
I have been, but I'm a few episodes behind, so don't spoil it for me.
Oh, no.
But I do like that show.
It's very interesting. And if you listen to any of those guys off camera, what you're seeing is generally what you're getting on the TV. So that's at least that's a good thing.
It's always nice to see too.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of times in the fall and in the winter, when I'm kind of stuck inside, I will watch a lot of the Bigfoot shows that come on. A lot of them, like on Pluto and what's that other one?
Hulu.
We got Pluto
Tubi.
and Hulu, Tubi. Yeah. But and I've been kind of shocked. Recently, I was watching a few of them. And there's a lot of shows on there that's just filmed with a guy walking around with his camera, And I think that's okay, but the production quality isn't that great. But they're on this national media, outlet. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but any Bigfoot show is a good Bigfoot show.
It is.
I mean, I like to watch them all and then say, I give it a 1, but I'll watch it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, the man who killed Hitler and Bigfoot. What?
Yeah.
What? No. Who in the hell came up with that idea?
Who came up with that one? Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I did like that one better than Letters from the Big Man. That was Letters from the Big Man did not thrill me whatsoever. About this lady goes in or girl, whatever, goes in the woods and Bigfoot's following her around.
I didn't care for that one either.
It was a weird vibe, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was.
To me, I was like,
her leaning up against the rock, writing her little stories or whatever.
Weird.
See, it takes me a little gumption to watch a Bigfoot fictional work. I usually watch the docs, and some docs I get through it in about 10 minutes. Others I watch it, front to back.
I like a good. Killer Bigfoot movie every now and then. For entertainment purposes, okay. We're not talking. We're way away from research, okay. But
you really want to watch one of the worst Bigfoot films ever was The Curse of Bigfoot. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yes, like in the 70s.
Well, do you know why that was so bad?
Oh, that could give you a list.
believe it or not, it was the first. There was two parts of it. The first part was shot in the 60s, the early 60s, and it never made it to screen. So what they did was they patched a 70s update into this black and white 60s film.
Right.
And it was just very disjointed and made a lot of it was very confusing.
It's better to watch that one on Mystery Science Theater. That's
It's better to watch that one having a few drinks in you, actually.
Oh,
But you know what? If it comes on, I love to watch it because it's so bad. Nice.
Only Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'll watch that version. Otherwise, no. Like Birdemic, I'll watch the Mystery Science Theater version of Birdemic, but as far as watching the movie on its own, no. I love a good Rift movie.
Yeah, I mean, the movie's only got a half a chance at making it, but I'll give it a 10% chance at that one. But okay, folks, let's do the roll call. First in tonight is Roy Longley. Hello, Roy. Good to see you.
Welcome.
He was ready for the lunking, and then he said, "Oops, lurking." Happens, it was a typo. I was talking with Pat Collins this morning, and it was a bunch of typos going back and forth. We were laughing. Grasshopper next, and hello, Grasshopper. Sandra Piper, good to see you, Sandra. Pete H, good to see you, Pete. Mrs. Trackway, good to see you, ma'am. Jen, the bouncer, she's in the house. Hello, Jen, and the office assistant is busy doing something. I don't know what he's doing right now. Sharon in the house. Sharon's from Belgium. Hello, Sharon. Good to see you.
Welcome. Wow.
Little Kilroy was here again.
Little Kilroy
was here again.
DM Zabo. Good to see you.
Zabo.
Yeah, Michael Williams. Good evening, sir. Lance Windsor. Hello, Lance. Good to see you. Buttworm in the house. Buttworm is here. Arthur Watch, good to see you, Arthur. Boris Khan, good to see you. Gorny Gugu.
Boris?
Now, Gorny Gugu. You remember that Eddie Murphy routine? My aunt's a Sasquatch. Gorny Gugu.
I don't remember that.
What the bleep is Gorny Gugu? Anyway, Don Gamal Jr. in the house. Good to see you, Don. Daniel Weeks. Hello, Daniel. And somebody new, Kaiser O's 88.
Kaiser Soze. Kaiser Soze. We've got him. He's right here. Oh, man.
Nikki, Sasquatch Secrets in the house. Nikki. Hello, Nikki. The Bat Mom. Hello, Bat Mom. Good to see you. Angel Nolan. Hello, Angel. Bristol in the house.
Bristol.
Getting there. Gary Johnson Sr. Good to see you, Gary. Jeff D. Smith also here. He's checked in for the day.
I'm lost. The chat's hopping. I'm lost.
Hey, Matt, Central Florida Bigfoot. Hello. And he sent a message. Lori, I'll be living in Berea soon. Paint Lick.
Cool. That's a good area.
Helton, a.k.a. Faster Man, is in the house. There's Patrick. I is here.
Hey, Pat.
Tennessee Cherokee is also here.
Sure, Tennessee Cherokee. Welcome. Yeah, I got lost a while ago, Steve.
Traveling with Jim. Hello, Jim. Good to see you, my friend. You got to come out with us in Whitehall this year. Got to. All right, that is the roll call.
Did we get David Parker? David
Parker in the house. That one I missed.
David? Yeah, I got lost about 3/4 of the way down today, so I'm actually doing a little better. But still, if we missed everybody, it's not because we don't love you. And we appreciate, say hello to all the lurkers out there. Welcome. You guys are always good to have you guys. Yeah, I do it too.
And as always, welcome to everybody that's new. Mm-hmm. Sit back, relax, pour yourself your favorite beverage, and enjoy the topics tonight. We have a little fun, a little bit of lightheartedness. A little bit of brevity is much needed today. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
So here we are, Lori. Lori, how are you tonight?
Great. Glad to be here.
Now, just as a precursor, I didn't really know this until like a couple of weeks ago that because I haven't been paying attention. I got so many shows. When I have like several shows lined up, I'm like, but Lori's going to be speaking at the wonderful Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival. So we will be seeing each other in just a mere few weeks.
Yeah.
And,
and it's finally nice to have a guest that I can understand the language they're speaking too. It's really great.
Yeah.
We speak the same Southern.
That's right. That's right.
The Yankee here might need to raise his hand and ask for clarification on a thing or two.
Well, Chris, I tried to tell someone the other day that I do not have an accent, and they just died laughing. They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "I don't."
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I do either. Yeah.
No, we don't. They do.
Yeah, depending on where you're standing in the United States, that if you're talking funny or not, that depends on where you're standing, and
that's
a lot of people don't understand that.
That's correct.
Buddy of mine, Keith Van Emmerich, he was from Long Island, New York, back years ago. One of my Air Force buddies, and I didn't think I had an accent, and he didn't think he had an accent, and he had that really Long Island, I'm going to fix the radiator in my car, okay, and I would that just tickled me to death, and he was always making fun of me, and I was kind of like, we would go back and forth. It seemed like I have a history with people from New York. Is that right, Steve?
Yes, sir.
New York. But,
so,
go ahead.
So anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into this. So again, welcome, Lori. Lori, tell us something about you that you haven't said on another Bigfoot show, or see, not like putting somebody on the spot.
My mother was Filipino. Do I look anything like my mother or sound like my mother? No.
Well, I was raised.
I haven't said that before.
There you go. I was raised in upstate New York. Yet I still have a little bit of a New York City accent because my parents were both in the Bronx. So, especially when I say the word B-A-L-L, you can always tell I'm from the city. Or my parents are from the city because I say ball. And most people say ball.
It is a ball.
Ball.
It is a ball.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah. I mean, I have lost a lot of that. I've learned to pronounce my R. So a tire is not a tire, and a pillow is not a pillow. And
but words from Maine. He says I have a wicked accent. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I wonder if he's near Bar Harbor.
I love the people from Maine, the way they talk. The New Hampshire's a good one. New Hampshire. If you're from New Hampshire.
Oh, that whole New England.
I love it. Yeah. I love the sound of it.
So, Lori, what got you involved in this Bigfoot gobbledygook?
When I was, I don't remember this, but vaguely. But when I was a kid, my mother says that I used to get down beside my bed and pray, "Please God, don't let the Bigfoots get me." Okay, so this was prior to the $6 million man. I'm not going to give you my real age, but this was prior to me being able to see that on TV. And, we had one TV in the house, and it was usually on, and I'll say it as my father would say it, was either on wrestling, okay, or it was on Hee Haw, or it was on some of those shows. We wouldn't have watched anything having to do with Bigfoot. Life happened, years go by, and about 11 or 12 years ago, my daughter said, "Mom, there's this show on TV you've got to watch. It's on Animal Planet." And she told me about Finding Bigfoot. So I flipped it over and turned over to it and realized that people actually went out and did that stuff. And got signed up and got hooked ever since. My first expedition ever was in Kentucky, and I was sold. You know, I was, before the first day, I was like, when can I sign up for another one? And my mom, that's when she told me, when I told her what I was doing, she said, I'm not surprised. And, you know, she told me that I used to pray and do that. And I said, Mom, what happened to me? And she's like, I don't know. She said, but you used to pray that. So I don't know if I've got some deep seated memory that I haven't told her, because we lived in the country. You know, we lived way out. I grew up in Alabama. So I don't know. Maybe something happened to me and I don't know what it was. You know?
Yeah, could maybe you've seen one out the window or while you were outside playing or something. Did you live in like a rural area where they had some woods and stuff?
Very, very rural. My parents were farmers. So we had acres and acres and acres of crops that my father truck farmed. So, you know, acres of watermelons, acres of cantaloupes, acres of peas, acres of corn. You know, we had it all.
Yeah, when I was growing up as a kid, my father used to tell me he used to go out to the farms to get cookies all the time. Pepperidge Farm.
Cookies. Oh man.
No, this was a real farm where we really worked. I had 3 brothers and sisters, and I used to say my parents kept having kids so that they'd have workers for the farm, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, you think you're doing a good thing when you're a parent. It's like, okay, I got kids. I'm going to get to a certain age. I won't have to mow the lawn again until they move out. And you're like, oh.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I grew up on a farm.
Case, when they move back in. When they move back in, it's like, okay, you're in charge of yard work.
I think living on a farm, and when you raise your children on a farm and they grow up working and they get that strong work ethic, I think it's really good for them. It didn't hurt me any.
When I was a teenager, I didn't think so, because
that's true.
I thought, well, all my friends are at the lake or doing this, and I'm hoeing watermelons.
Right.
But now that I'm older, I don't regret it at all, and I think of those as wonderful times.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you can't go back to them, they're wonderful times, you know?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yep.
When I
remember
teenager,
times.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's times you curse out your parents and then you realize what a life lesson you learned out of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I was a teenager.
You find yourself doing things like your parents that you thought you never would.
Right. Right. I always thought milking cows was just the most terrible job in the world. I was like, oh, God, I can't believe I have to do this. I will never do this again. And then after I grew up and got a job, was out on my own, I found out, hey, you know what? Milking cows wasn't that bad of a job. It was.
No, it wasn't.
It was pretty good, actually. I would like to go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the cows don't complain.
No. The only bad thing about milking cows, though, is it's twice a day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and there's no days you can't call in. You can't call over to the barn and say, "Look, cows, I'm not feeling good today, so I'm not coming in." No, You've got to be right out there with them. But I still loved it. Loved every minute of it. Now, back then I didn't.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
So, Laura, you're from roundabouts the Chattanooga area. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's where I live now. I live in Ooltewah, which is just a bedroom community of Chattanooga.
Do you do a lot of
75 north? Right.
Do you do a lot of research around the Chattanooga area? Because I noticed I've been through there quite a bit, and it's kind of hilly.
A little bit, isn't it? Yeah. Chattanooga and North Georgia. I do a lot in North Georgia as well, because I live right at the state line. Chattanooga's right on the state line. So you're in Georgia before you realize it. Lots of mountains. You got to be prepared to walk up some hills.
Right. Yeah, that's someplace, you don't really hear it mentioned very often in the sightings, but North Georgia is actually a pretty good hotbed of activity.
North Georgia is one of the best places there is. And
I was watching.
And East Tennessee. Well, yeah. I would say everything except for West Tennessee, and that's just because I don't go to West Tennessee. But you get into the foothills of the Appalachians. Mm-hmm. You've got everything you need for Bigfoot. I mean, you've got your plenty of food, you got plenty of deer, you got plenty of water, you got plenty of cover. I mean, especially around the streams and stuff, you've got all the rhododendrons.
Yes.
Those are so prolific down here.
Yeah. Plus, they have that whole mountain range from the north to the south to travel along, and it's without being seen, and that's always thrilled me.
The base of the Appalachians, or on the northern end, it starts in Orange County, New York.
Right. Steve, have you been to East Tennessee or North Georgia?
Oh yeah, I have. A while back. Exactly where, I'm not quite sure, but I was out playing in Tennessee for a little bit. I was out playing in Georgia for a while. So you went to Kentucky. Was that run by Charlie Raymond at the time?
It was.
Throughout the areas. Charlie's a great guy.
Not my first one. Not my first one. That was my first one was a BFRO event, and that was Ronnie Powell ran that one. But yes, okay. I've been on several of Charlie's, and actually the first sighting I ever had, I was on a Charlie expedition.
Wow. Nice.
So, and that was in 2016.
Did you miss the one I was there?
Probably, because Charlie and I, we laugh because we tend to schedule things the same time or back-to-back weekends to when you can't possibly go to another one, or else you're going to be divorced. That kind of stuff.
Right.
I try to give my husband my schedule, but he thinks this Bigfoot stuff's the stupidest thing he's ever heard of. So when I do 5 weekends in a row, he's typically pretty mad. So, not mean mad, just aggravated.
Right. Well, yeah, that's one thing. It's good to have the support of your significant other when you're in this research field, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. I wished I had the support of my wife, but as far as her actually wanting to be out there with me and see one, no, she don't want to see one. First of all, she says she doesn't think they're real.
Right.
Second of all, if they are real, she doesn't want to see it. Not interested in the least. Don't want to see it. But that's okay. It's not for everybody.
It's not. And,
kind of reminds me of that TV series, Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, where every time a Bigfoot shows up, oh, run away.
Do you not ever notice? I don't know how often y'all really get out in the woods and stuff, but sometimes I get tickled because we're out hunting Bigfoot, but yet something happens that scares us, and it's like, I want to leave. And it's like, wait a minute. This is what we're doing. Have we forgotten that we're out hunting? We're trying to do research. But, that one little thing will happen, or somebody will hear something, and you're like, okay, I'm going to walk you back to the car, but I'm coming back out here,
Well, I think that there's a feeling that some people get when they're actually near one of these creatures. Have you ever had that feeling, Lori, like when you're out there, like, something's wrong. I've got to get out of here. Something's wrong.
Chris, read that comment.
Finally, Trackway says, Mrs. Trackway is a trooper unless I want to buy new gear.
Yeah. That's when you hide that gear in the garage. Okay.
I can relate to that.
Had it for a long time.
That's right. Tracker, just buy it and stick it in a garage or in a closet, back in the back of a closet somewhere, and keep it there for a few months, and then bring it out.
Yeah. And then you put dust on it.
Right. Okay? Right. When did you get that? Oh, I've had this for a long time.
See.
One time my husband asked me, he was like, how many tents do you have? Because I said something about my tents. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I have a few. And he's like, no, seriously, how many tents do you have? And I'm like, 8. He's like, why do you have 8 tents? And I'm like, well, for different areas. I might just want a little bitty tent, or I might want a big tent, or I might want he wasn't too thrilled with that idea either. But going back to your question of, some of my friends used to be like, you're a Squatch magnet, because I'll get what I call my spidey sense. And sometimes I can go out and I'm like, there's nothing here right now, but there might be later. But it is. It's a sixth sense that you have, and I feel like it's some kind of connection that you may have to them if you're out enough.
Have you been in the? You've been in the forest. I mean, obviously, you grew up on a farm, so you know the forest very well.
I do.
So, I always try to quote this very carefully to people. Is that I have that kind of spidey sense too, but it's more of a like I'm in a wooded area I know very well, or I know it got quiet, where it's there's just something about it. There's like a tenor almost that you feel like things are not the same. It's like something is not normal here, and that kind of triggers this warning bell.
It's like an energy level. The energy is just different. You get a whole different vibe.
And yeah, because there is a lot of energy when you go, especially in the daytime. You go into a forest, you got birds and chirping and little critters and varmints running around, and you have the cadence of the day, and then you get into some places and it's like being in a vacuum. Like
yes, it's like why are there no animal sounds? Haven't seen a bird, haven't seen a squirrel, haven't seen anything.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Man, it's nothing supernatural. It's just something that, like anybody, Native Americans did it. And if you're in the woods enough, you'll learn it too. You'll get that vibe like something just isn't right here. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but something isn't right.
Yeah. Right. You're out in the woods. You're trekking through there. 99% of the time, you're going to hear birds singing. You're going to hear bugs tweeting, twerking, whatever kind of bugs you got in your area. And then there's going to be that 1% of the time when you're out there and it's like the whole the woods have gone silent. It's like, what the heck? How come nothing's making any noise? Something's not right.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just a good hunter will go out there, get in his deer stand, and they'll know, they'll feel it. They'll feel like something's going to come tonight.
Guys, on the questions tonight in the chat, if y'all could, I'm sorry, I've been ignoring the chat. If y'all could, if you got a question for Lori, just type it in caps so I can see it, because I do not have my reading glasses on. And we'll put a star on those and get back to them.
It's amazing, this group. We went from porcupines to platypuses.
Curious if there's any platypuses, though. So if I hear a platypus, I know something's wrong.
I think finding the trackway is going to be the first one to come up and say, "Hey, I got this platypus vocalization." It's going to be like, "Oh." Yeah, Laura says still just a duck in a beaver suit.
Lori, you had mentioned earlier that you had a sighting in Kentucky. Would you mind sharing that with us? I mean, if you want to, it's voluntary.
Sure. I've actually had two sightings. But the first one was in Kentucky in 2016, and we were on a Charlie Raymond expedition, and three of us kind of just said, "Charlie, can we kind of break off from the group and go a different area?" And Charlie knew I was a BFRO investigator, and he was like, "Sure, Lori, go ahead, do what you want." So we kind of went, and we walked, and we got to this point that there was a steep turn, and it went down, way down to this river or creek or something. Mm-hmm. And I did not know that Charlie was actually about 2 miles down that same trail. And I looked at the two guys I was with, and I'm like, I don't want to walk anymore. We're just kind of being lazy. And they're like, yeah, we don't either. So we carry these little chairs in our backpack, just these little stools, those little tripod stools. I guess some people use them for dove hunting. Yeah, the little trifold thing. So I'm like, well, why don't we just get our chairs out and we'll all put our backs together and we'll look in 3 different directions. They're like, okay. So we always have audio going anytime we're out. We turn the audio on in our backpack. Sometimes, we have to erase some of the things that we say, but we don't no sooner get turned around, I said, I'm going to look the way we walked from. Other guy was looking down the ravine, and the other guy was going to look down the trail that we didn't want to walk. And I turned around. I did not even sit down yet. And I pointed, and I thought, which one of the guys went behind me? Because I turned around, and coming around this little curve, I saw something walking that looked like something with a hoodie on. I mean, it was conical head. And I turned back around because I thought, which one of the guys went? And I kind of made me mad because I thought, I told y'all which way to look. Why are you behind me? And about that time, I'm like, oh my God. Because I realized what I was seeing, because it stopped dead in its tracks and it turned on a dime and ran down the ravine. The guys are like, what did you just see? And I'm trying to explain to him. It was only about 6 feet tall. I really think it was a juvenile, but I could point to the exact tree limb that it went to. It was only about 60 yards away. But when it turned and ran down that ravine, all the acorns started falling off the trees there. You could see the little trees shaking. You could hear it just, and all the coyotes in the ravine went crazy. So, we're all excited. They can't believe that they've turned the opposite way. And I saw this, and it honestly took us about 20 minutes to radio Charlie and actually even tell him, which there should have been the first thing I did, but we were so excited that we just couldn't even think about it. Now I can tell you, I'm 100% positive that what I saw was not a person. I couldn't see the face. There was almost a full moon in the back, so I could see the outline of it, but I couldn't see a face. But I feel in my heart, I know exactly what it was.
Right.
And I know that in that same area, in the last, that happened in 2016. And in the last 6 years or so, I think there have been 4 other sightings within 100 yards of where I saw that.
Yeah.
So I really feel like that's a corridor and that they are there. Of course, I have an NDA. I can't tell you where it was at, but
right.
It was a great area in Kentucky. And wow, I love to go there all the time. I just don't.
You had mentioned there's some coyotes started howling or barking and stuff, or howling after.
They went crazy as soon as that Bigfoot ran down the ravine. The coyotes in the ravine went crazy.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, it was never terrifying. I was never scared.
Yeah.
It was just so hair on the back of your neck. Oh my God, I just saw what I came out here to see. I can't believe it's real. It doesn't matter how many times you're gone squatching, so to speak. That feeling you get when something happens that you can't explain.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating and scary at the same time.
Well, Lori, if you could think back, and I know there was a lot of stuff going on when that was happening, but do you remember any sort of ear discomfort or your ear? I call it like a flutter, like like there's a moth or something flipping in your, like a sound.
No, and
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you that whether people believe it or not, I have been zapped multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily think all of those were Bigfoot related, but that's another story. It was never those type of feelings. It was never a fear or an anxiety or anything. I'm just literally, I turned around and it was bebopping on the trail, right? I mean, just right where we had walked.
Right.
And of course, I mean, this is me speculating, but I think that maybe if it was a juvenile that was kind of following us, and us stopping kind of caught it off guard. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they think, but that's always been my theory of what happened.
That's the thing. Yeah, we're left with what we saw, and we try to make sense of it, and you got to come up with some sort of theory.
I mean, we have the audio on that. We have everything that was said. They're going, "Oh my God, you just saw it." I'm like, yes, I knew exactly. I mean, I I could walk right to the part. I'm like, it was right here. This is where it ran down the ravine. And you could see where the leaves and stuff were messed up from where it ran.
Well,
I
did you notice
literally have
any?
no doubt.
Did you notice any odor or not? Was there any
No.
distinct smells or nothing? Okay.
No, and I have never in my other instant, I've never had an odor from a Bigfoot. Now, my personal feeling on that is that Bigfoots don't smell any different than any other animal or whatever.
Right.
I think they are somewhat like a skunk in the sense that they have a scent gland or something.
Mhm.
I think they can have an odor if they need to, or a really pungent odor, but I don't necessarily think that they smell rancid all the time.
I think that's a valid theory that that they do have the glands that they can secrete that stench
Right.
or not, and because half the sightings will report they didn't smell anything, and then
Right.
the other half was like, oh my god, it was horrible.
Right. I mean, when do skunks do that? When they're feel threatened
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe these other sightings, when people didn't smell anything, Bigfoot didn't feel threatened.
Yeah. Well, did you feel threatened at all during
No.
that sighting? No.
Nope, not at all.
Very cool.
Not at all.
It always leads me back to, there's a contingent of people that think a Sasquatch is so perfect in nature, and for most of the time they are, but they make mistakes. That's how they run into us in the woods. That's a lot of times they look just as surprised as we do. Probably.
I think they make mistakes, and then there's times that I think they just don't care. They just don't feel threatened, and they're just like, I'm going to walk right here. That person's not going to hurt me, or whatever they think we are.
Now, I always would say this. It's nighttime. What time of night was this?
I think this was that's the one thing that I can't remember unless I look back at my notes. I think this was about midnight.
Right. So who would be walking on this trail at midnight without the use of a flashlight?
Well,
and
I can
when you encounter a bunch of people, you don't say hello or something to, so that kind of eliminates that this is a person type of deal to me.
It wasn't a person.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
One of those things that I felt certain of it at that moment, and I still feel certain of it today. And I replay those things. I was recently there. I went right back on that trail, and I could stop exactly where I saw it. I looked around, and I can still, when something like that happens, you question yourself. Right. Even though it happened, you question yourself all the time. Like many things in life.
I will give you a great example. In 2013, he's in the chat tonight, traveling with Jim, myself. He's part of my field team at times, and we were all down in a particular area on the Vermont-New York border. We were on the Vermont side along the Pulteney River, and we catch on the FLIR something tall, upright, walking along the shoreline. The naked eye, you can't see nothing. You can't see anything. You can't hear anything. Sorry about the bad English there. Can't see nothing. Can't see anything. You can't see.
Sounded right to me.
It's catching. It's rubbing off on you, Steve.
Yeah. Well, it won't rub me off completely until you hear me say a widget, did you? But again, there's no use of lights. It would be impossible to navigate in the complete darkness there without a light if you're a human, if you're one of us. So I agree. What you saw was definitely not a human. And if anybody ever brings that up, there's some great arguments there. Well, that's funny because what's the first thing a human does when they're walking down a trail, even at nighttime? You're going past other people. What's up? Hi, how you doing? Mm-hmm. And you acknowledge because, God forbid you don't want to get shot or scare somebody or anything like that.
Yeah.
So Chris, we have a bunch of questions. Let's start flying with them.
Yeah. Finding the Trackway says, let me put that up. Did the creature make any sounds before the coyotes went off?
No, it was running down the ravine. I heard no sounds from it.
But it was making noise as it was going down the ravine.
Yeah, I didn't hear any noise from the Bigfoot. I just heard it running. I just heard, the leaves, and the
Rustle.
acorns.
Right.
Were just falling off the trees.
Very cool. Let's see. Sasquatch Secrets. Nikki says, did you get up and follow it, or is there a video?
We did not follow it. There's no video. We do have audio of everything that transpired.
And how long were you squatching? How long were you researching at that point in time?
How long had I been?
Yeah.
From the beginning? Probably 3.5 years.
Right.
I'd been doing this.
And
when I jumped into it, I jumped into it, with both feet.
Right.
Like I said, one's 8/10. Okay.
Right. What I was getting at is number one, video at night is pretty lackluster, because unless you have night vision or an extremely good night vision, because even a Sony night shot camera will only go about 10, 12 feet in front of you. That's about it. That's just
you know what, too, is that people say all the time, and I hear other witnesses say this, did you get a picture? Did you get a picture?
Right.
These things happen so fast at the moment when you least expect it.
Yeah.
You could be out there 5 hours holding your phone up to get a picture. The minute you put your phone down to scratch your head,
there it is.
Will happen. So I don't ever question anybody as to why they don't get a picture, because it's just, unless somebody says, oh, I watched it for 10 minutes. And then I think, that's strange. But these fleeting sightings, you're not going to find people who get a picture of it.
Right. Yeah. Again, time for the shameless plug, Chris, of the night. My latest book, The Psychology of Sasquatch. We cover a lot of why people do not get pictures.
Are you going to slide? Put the book up?
No, I don't.
That's what you should do.
It wasn't planned.
Yeah, that topic is covered. Yeah.
I'm very much in depth, too, about some of the psychological reasons as to why people don't get pictures and what the brain is experiencing. Seeing a Bigfoot for the first time, especially. Most people only have a one-off experience. So, I've been blessed with a couple of sightings. You've been blessed, Lori, with a couple of sightings. Chris, you've been blessed with a couple of sightings. But for the most part, people only see them once, and that's it. That's their big day. And what are you going to do at that point in time? So you want to read about it, get the book, and we can talk about it at some point down the road. So
yeah, and that's one of the things about even though if you think you've got yourself prepared mentally for this encounter, you go out and what was it? I think it was Mike Tyson said everybody has a plan until you get hit. Was it
right? Yeah. Great.
And then, so you've got this plan in your head, and you know what you're going to do and how you're going to react. It's all here. And then once you're out there in the moment, and then one steps off a trail in front of you, or you see it off to the side, it's like everything that you had planned goes out the window. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But now, Matt's a continuous filming is the way to go. But Matt, here's the issue. If you don't have a night vision camera that you have spent thousands of dollars on to get that nice big shot, and it's on you, you're not going to see anything. I mean, a camera without IR lenses at night, unless you have that nice, big, fat, expensive lens that can soak in absorb a lot of light there, you're not going to see anything. I know for me, I even had a little night vision camera with me the night I saw mine. I didn't even think about it. I didn't keep it running because it's only seeing 10 feet in front of me. If I'm going to see something 25 feet off, 30 feet off, 50 feet off, I might as well be shooting in the dark. I might as well just keep a digital recorder going. So, the equipment at night still is not caught up. Like, you can't get a GoPro that can shoot 100 feet in front of you at night. That's what
anything that can is so expensive that you can't afford it.
Right. Now, there is some minor and expensive digital night vision, which works wonderfully. I've seen this digital night vision work just as good as generation 2, maybe even 3.
Right.
And I do set it up on a tripod because it's cumbersome. It's big. But I set it up on a tripod and take a picture and video that. Like I'll video a location like a roadway and see if maybe we can get one to cross the road in front of it. And it does have a good vision of about 100 to 150 to 200 feet.
Yeah.
A nice open thing. You put it on high intensity IR and boom, you can see a good couple hundred feet, which is awesome.
And if you don't care, Steve, put a link to those night vision binoculars, the real digital night vision binoculars down somewhere in the description when you get a chance, because those things are good. They are good for the money. You can't beat them. They're great.
Yeah, I think it was only like $250.
Well, they've come down a lot since then. They've come down a lot. And usually, these days things usually go up, but the price on those night vision binoculars.
In fact, on the channel, there is a video of us reviewing that.
Yeah. It's several years ago.
And I'll tell you what, I was amazed because I got it at the price I did. I was like, wow, this thing is awesome. And they put an a mini SD card in it, and I was thinking, how much? And I pop up the SD card. It was 32 gigabyte.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, it wasn't even a small. It wasn't like they didn't throw in the
four?
Standard, the 4 or the 2 even.
And Steve hadn't had that one that long when he made his Kentucky visit, and we were out in the yard or out in the field. We were playing with it, and I was looking at it. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And he's like, yeah, it's only like, a couple of $100. I said, you're kidding me. And so, that after that weekend, I ordered one. Had to have it. And sure enough, it is great, man.
Right. But what I've learned over the years, it's big. Actually, Chris, give me a second. Take another question. Give me a second. I'll show what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're kind of sizey, but they're well worth it. We got one from Mick here. There's our good friend Mick. Mick says, in case I missed it, Lori, which part of Tennessee do you research? East, west, or central?
East and central. I really don't go west. And I do a lot of research in North Georgia as well.
Right. Yeah, that would seem, when you start heading west, you get away from the mountainous regions and stuff. But over there towards the Mississippi.
I have enough research area in central and East Tennessee to keep me busy. So,
right.
I mean, I've got places that I go to frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And, you don't want to give those up.
Right.
I run expeditions for the BFRO, and I used to think, okay, well, I don't want to go there again. We've already went there. And then I thought, but that's crazy. That's where the activity is. Why would I not want to go there
again? You got to go to your good spots.
You got to go to your honey holes,
And let's see. Now, I'm not putting these up in order, guys, so just forgive me. I'm trying to get. But Matt over at Central Florida Bigfoot says, Lori, have a channel or Instagram?
No, I'm not that high tech yet. I have enough to keep me busy that I just don't do that.
Yeah. I'm not too crazy about the social media thing either. And there for a long time.
I'll be honest, life is busy. And I have a company of my own that I run, and I have another part-time job. I go to Bigfoot festivals, seems like all the time. I speak at these conferences. And I've got 4 grandchildren. It's just,
you spread pretty thin as it is.
If you can't do a good job at what you're doing, you shouldn't spread yourself any thinner.
Right.
So that's just how I feel. I just, I don't really want to go on those mediums. I'm good where I am. And, watch, I say that, and then next week I'll have one. No, I won't. No, it won't.
There's Steve. Oh, you're muted, bud.
Can't hear him.
There we go.
This is the unit, and it is heavy. It is big.
Yeah.
I've learned that even carrying it around the neck, it's kind of cumbersome.
Right.
So the nice thing about it, though, is that it has a tripod mount on it. The batteries last. Has a great viewfinder. You can actually look at it from a distance because that's the entire viewfinder.
Yeah, it has.
What brand is that?
This is a Creative XP.
Okay.
You know, and 8. I put in 8 rechargeable AA batteries, and it lasts a good 8 hours on record.
Right. And it has a fairly large view screen inside there. You can have a good idea. It's to me, it's larger than watching on my phone.
Right.
You know, you can when
Right.
you're looking in there. So it's fairly easy to see.
But you know, with something like that you think is big and cumbersome, and I agree, people don't understand that sitting in one place and researching is just as good as thinking you have to walk for miles,
Right.
because you don't.
I
You
agree.
go find a good place where there's a good draw, or you know, all the things point to signs that you would have animals come through, and you sit and you wait, just like I guess you do in deer hunting.
Yeah.
You don't have to walk 4.5 miles into the forest to see something.
Well, yeah, depending on where you're at, you know,
Yeah.
some people may have to walk a little further than others, but
Right. But
yeah,
as a general rule, you know,
Yeah. I think that's a
I
good,
had a lady,
valid research
I had a
technique.
lady on an expedition one time that this is truly what she said. You know, we're going to walk down this trail, and she said, "Well, how far down the trail, and which side should we look on before we're going to see one?" And I'm like, "This isn't an Audubon zoo." It's not. I'm like, you know, this is just a good trail. I don't
Which
know.
side of the trail do we got to look? Oh, wait a minute.
Which is like, okay, well,
Right.
I've misrepresented it if that's what you think we're going to do, you know, because it's not going to happen like that.
Jen, it's called the Creative XP. Creative XP.
I wrote that down. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, Jen just asked me what's the name of those again.
They're cool. They're cool. I love mine. You know, it helps you. And a matter of fact, when Steve did, I'm not sure if it's on that video or not, Steve, the one where you were talking about it. Anyway, there's some video from Steve on the channel from a couple years ago or so, and he filmed a bat. We were down by Green River. It was completely dark, no light whatsoever, and he's filming a bat capturing video of a bat with that night vision binoculars. And it's, you know, you can see the bat as plain as day flying back and forth, and it was completely dark. So
skimming the river to get skeetos.
Yeah. How it was able to pick that up, I have no idea. But that's what you're getting. You know, is it a $10,000 piece of equipment? No, it's not. But for me, who's sort of somewhat, Steve says, frugal, I say cheap. You get a lot for your money, you really do.
Amazon has them for $75, maybe a lower version, but
they've come down. They've come down.
And then there's a monocular for $111. So
I would go, well, this is a binocular.
And then there's a $200 one. This is probably yours.
Yeah, the one I have actually can zoom in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It has 3 levels of zoom. It has 3 levels of IR.
Right.
And again, understand the shortcomings of night vision. Is that if you have your night vision, you're in the woods, and say even if you have the ones that come down over the eyes, if you have those on full blast, the minute you look at something nearby, you're getting blinded. You put it on high. If you put the IR in high, you're not going to be able to see nearby. Everything is going to be too bright.
Yeah.
But what I like doing is I set it up, put it on the maximum IR, and I shoot the road. And like I say, you can get 300 feet, and I just hit record, and it's recording, and let it go. Done.
Right. If you're close, like when I was first checking out mine in the backyard at night, I had the IR illuminator was set on high, and when I was looking at my cat, they're walking around my feet, it was just washed out. So you could set that down a level or two, and you could see him plain as day. Now for like the IR level, on the what do you call it, emulator or something, Steve? Emitter. When it's set on level 3, I was looking at the fence row back of my home. It's probably a good 150 feet or so, and you could see the fence row as plain as day. If somebody was standing back there in the fence row waving at you, you could see them plain as day.
Right. And
whereas when you turn it off, you see nothing but black, and the silhouette of the trees in the background. Oh, yeah. I'm going to put this up. Robert Dendubin put up there, said, if you have Amazon Prime, the Prime Day sale is this Tuesday and Wednesday. Good idea.
Another tip.
Yeah, but for the money, I think, especially if you're doing any research at night, it is well worth having. Well worth having. Don't turn it on in the daytime, though.
yeah, you can blow them out.
In the daytime, it's gone. It's gone. But let me get back to these questions. There's Matt says he's Central Florida Bigfoot. Matt says Black Rock Mountain scared the pants off me camping up there solo in my Airstream. Well, Black Rock Mountain, is that in Georgia?
That is it is in Georgia. Yeah. There's a Black Rock, I think a Black Rock Mountain State Park. I've been very near there. If it's the same thing I'm thinking, I squatched very near there, but not at Black Rock Mountain.
Yeah. But, at Pat Collins, I think he just started doing a survey of the chat here. Who else is coming to the Whitehall Festival? Steve, you're going to be there, aren't you? Whitehall.
When is that?
Whitehall. When is it? It is September 30th.
I'll type it in real quick. Make sure.
I got it right here. Really? I can't type my own website in it without it saying your privacy is at risk.
28th September.
Yep.
28th of September. So, yeah. Well, that's on a Saturday. They're not going to have anything going on Sunday?
No, it's just a one-day affair.
Okay.
And then what happens is I take a select group of us and we go off to my research area. And last year, we heard this. That was right after I was doing a little bit of actually vocal to saying, come on, guys, come on. Let's hear you. I believe it, and Lori, I don't know if it is that if you go stealthy, they're going to get very suspicious really fast. I think the most common way is we just walk in, we talk normal, we walk normally, keeps the bad animals away. But Sasquatch being a primate, man, they got to see what's going on. Just like,
well, I agree. I am not stealthy. As a matter of fact, I tell people, if you don't want to talk, don't go on my trail.
Right.
Because I'm going to talk, I'm going to sing, I'm going to laugh, I'm going to do everything because I believe in being normal out there.
It definitely lessens their inhibitions.
Right.
And I think that's huge. Is that that's their weakness is curiosity. You create a fuss, they're going to come look at what it is. Right. And I've always said you can distract them. Case in point, my first sighting, it was watching our campfire and watching, we were all in the camp hooting and hollering. And, we were out for a few hours, came back in, debriefing, hooting and hollering. I go out while everybody's hooting and hollering and didn't notice me coming out until I closed my car door. And I turned around and I noticed it. And we kind of had a standoff for about 40 seconds. And I moved my flashlight and decided to walk back into the wood line.
Wow.
And then everybody, and then the base camp was saying, "Hey, we hear something moving around here." Yeah, no kidding. Get out of here.
I think that's one of the things that people kind of mistake. They treat it when they're out in the woods like they're going hunting, where they have to be extremely quiet.
Absolutely, I agree.
you don't really have to be extremely quiet. When back in 2010, the first time I had a close-up sighting, I had my wife and my son with me. We were doing a walk out in nature, and that my 5-year-old boy at that time, okay, he was making all kinds of racket, laughing, hollering, yelling. He was just having a good old time, you know. And I thought to myself, well, there's no way on God's green earth that anything will ever be around. You know, he's going to be scaring stuff off. I was thinking of the hunting mentality. And as it turned out, you know, there was one, you know, about 50 feet away watching us, because I assumed that racket he had been making had drawn the creature in, their curiosity, like, what's going on over there? You know, what's all that noise?
Right. Just like us. We hear a boom, we're all looking to see where that boom came from.
Yeah.
And well, all the little animals. No. Mick, I have not ever piqued the curiosity of an amorous Sasquatch. They want nothing to do with us except play with us. I really think that when we had the activity with what I believe was the juveniles, I think they were having fun getting us to move around, almost like a hide and go seek type of game. They would come in, we would hear them, we would go out, they would go back, and you know, we would come back in. 20 minutes later, they're back because we can hear them walking around us, and it was an amazing 2 years.
Well, I had a theory that in 2010, since my son had drawn in, that one that I had seen was a large female. And I kind of wondered if a noise, a children's noise, like such as a baby crying, would play on their emotions and bring them in, you know, attract them. So I came up with an idea about playing a baby crying in the woods. And later on, I saw that on Finding Bigfoot.
I do have a baby cry on my, I have a Fox Pro, what call blaster.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the baby cry has never elicited anything.
Mm-hmm.
Never. Which is unfortunate.
It's a sound theory. I think it's a sound theory, but just hasn't worked yet.
Well, the thing is how familiar is a Bigfoot going to be with a baby cry? You know, it's not something familiar to it. And it may actually, you know, baby cries, as they have proven to raise the stress level of adult humans.
Oh, yeah. I agree with
now,
that.
Let me ask you a question. When you hear a dog yelping in pain and in misery, does that increase your stress level? Yes. Anybody that has empathy, I believe a Sasquatch must have empathy. Chimpanzees do, orangutans do. They, you know, gorillas definitely do. Look at Coco when her cat died.
Yeah,
she was signing. She was sad. I really think that when you hear that noise, I think it's so distressful to a Sasquatch, it may make it go the other way.
Maybe.
Whereas your traditional whoops and knocks and stuff like that may draw its curiosity out. But I don't know. I don't know. It's because you know, you got to think of it that a Sasquatch, you know, if you hear put out a deer, a bunny scream, rabbit scream, or a yelping coyote or something like that, hey, that's food. But when you hear something else in distress, I don't know what that is. Nice, Boris.
Yeah, when you hear something you don't know what it is, you don't really know whether to line your.
Hey, Boris, the issue there is that 4 will go and only 2 will come out probably.
And we've got some more questions. You'll take some of these questions, Steve, or you want me to?
Yeah, let's go. I don't know. Let's go with this one. Okay, questions from Mick. Laurie, what's your opinion of the temperament of the Sasquatch that live in the Tennessee area? Aggressive, relaxed, or skittish?
Relaxed. I have not found anything like I said, I've been zapped a few times. Some people may consider that to be aggressive. I don't necessarily think of it as aggressive. I think of it as back off. But I don't think back off means aggressive. But I've never been scared. Anytime something's happened to me, typically once I've gathered my senses, I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what just happened, or I need to go research this area more or whatever. But no, I don't find them to be aggressive. I haven't yet.
Well, Lori, when you said when you've been zapped, okay, can we explore that a little bit? What kind of feeling did you get? Was there like a feeling of dread, or was it?
Well, the first time I was ever zapped was in 2015 in Wisconsin. Yeah, in Wisconsin. Now that one, I would say, feeling of dread, crying, couldn't breathe, the whole 9 yards. That one scared me. That one I didn't want to go back to sleep in my tent. That one, but that was the first one. I've had things happen. I've gotten knocked on my back, picked up off the ground and slammed to the ground. Didn't scare me. Just felt like, okay, what happened? Why did that happen? I've been brought to my knees. I have walked into what felt like a wall, to where kind of bouncing off a wall. And I've been knocked down more times than I care to remember, which some of the guys that I go with regularly, they're like, don't you go in that wood line by yourself. You wait a minute, because they're very protective of me, and they know I'm very stubborn and that I'm going to. But I mean, it happens more frequently than not. But it is, the last few times it has been like almost like a feeling of electricity. Like when I say zapped, it's almost as if you hit some kind of electrical current. And that's why I said I'm not sure that every one of those are Bigfoot related. And people don't like to talk about the paranormal, and I don't really know how I feel about it. But there's still things that I can't explain. Can't say that Bigfoot did it. Can't say that Gumby did it. Can't say, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Does it make me sound crazy? Yeah.
No, not at all. No,
Yeah.
no. I think I think you've got to me, it seems like you've got a strong empathic ability to feel.
Someone asked me recently. They said, "Are you an empath?" And I said, "No." And they're like, "I think you are." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Yeah, I think you need to research into that. I think you are." I have mixed feelings, and I've changed the way that I think from when I started this to now. I'm to that point in my life that I'm not trying to get anybody to believe me, because I know the things that have happened to me. I know my experiences. Whether one person or no persons believe me, it's okay. It's okay. I don't need to prove it. I do this research for myself. I don't do this research so that I can be on TV and say, "Oh, look, I got proof of a Sasquatch."
Yeah.
No, I do it because I'm curious and I want some answers. But having people making fun of me or whatever, it doesn't matter. Or people rolling their eyes and going, she's gone crazy. She's getting zapped and all this. It just doesn't matter.
I think it's important to point out that, when I say empathic, I don't mean, okay, I can read what Steve's thinking in his mind. No, not like that.
No, that's Chris. Technically, Chris, that's not an empath either.
Right. What I'm talking about is someone that can feel the emotions of the people around them, and
that's an empath. That's an empath.
But some people get the two mixed.
I've been in the woods before and just said, I feel a sadness. There's a deep sadness right here, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's just something that I feel."
Well, if I put the paranormal hat on for a second, which, Lori, I don't know if you know this about me. I really talk about this. I ran my own paranormal group from 2013 through present time. We're just on hiatus right now. and I studied to be a demonologist.
I did not know that part. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And everything you're saying says you're an empath. Everything you say says you're an empath. But all right, paranormal hat off. Back to the Bigfoot.
See, they don't have to be interrelated. That's what people say. Oh,
correct.
you can't put. No, but sometimes you can be in the forest and something paranormal happened to you that has nothing with Bigfoot. Just because you happen to be Bigfoot hunting, you don't have to put them in the same bowl.
Right.
Things happen. Things just happen that you can't explain.
And let's face it, the forests of this country were inhabited a long time ago by people of different nations that were essentially robbed of their lands. So that causes a lot of bad feelings and a lot of bad vibes in the country itself, and in the land itself. So, to me, they don't have. You're right. They don't have to be interrelated. They're just happening in the same area. It's like somebody who says, "Oh, well, there's UFO sightings and there was a Bigfoot sighting." Well, there's UFO sightings as we're learning everywhere else. I mean, let's face it. There's we and I always say this in my lectures is that when the cattle were getting mutilated and there was UFOs around them, and people reporting beams of light coming down from the sky on the cattle during this time too. We never once said that the cows were aliens or the cows were related to the UFOs, right? But for some reason, we want to associate, because this happens with the Sasquatch or a Bigfoot, that, they must be from the UFOs. No, they're not.
No.
If they're studying creatures, they're studying creatures. We're just one of them. And we're the most interesting because guess what? We do destructive things and we make a lot of technological things, and that's our nature.
And research is research. If you go out to your spot and you see a UFO, well, yes, you make note of that. If you see a Bigfoot the same night, you make note of that. But you're right, they don't have to be related. But you do have to write down every bit of research that you get, whether it's something you believe in or not.
And in 2012, guess what?
What?
I was in at a place in Vermont, near Castleton, Vermont. And yes, I was on a mountainside, and we were setting up our night equipment as one of the team decided another team wanted to hike up the mountain a bit more. And good old Frank and I, in the middle of the day, we see a UFO, a UAP, whatever you want to call it, right there. Big bright light in the sky in the middle of the day. So that happens.
Well, we had an experience near the Washington-Idaho border last July. What is today? Almost a year ago to the day, that several of us can't explain. I mean, cannot explain what we saw, can't explain what we heard, but it was not it was not something that we expected to see.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would have said, could it have been a drone maybe with a bright light on it? This was 2012. Drones weren't a thing.
Right.
Yeah,
just like I said, no, it couldn't have been a drone. It sounded like a jet engine.
Right.
45 feet above me. No, it wasn't a drone. Okay.
And a few minutes ago, earlier, Lori made a comment about keeping good notes, and that is a very good recommendation. Keep good notes, and always make sure you keep a hard copy. Do not leave them on your hard drive.
Right.
Because those things can fail, and you can lose all your stuff.
Right. You may go back and read through your notes and go, hey, wait a minute. Somebody told me about this before. And whether you believe it or not at the time, and I say this, you don't have to believe everything you hear. But in your research, if you write it down and you go back, I wasn't there. I can't tell you what happened to you. How can I say I believe you or I don't believe you?
Right.
I wasn't there. But you go back in your research and said, wait a minute, I've got 10 instances where somebody told me this happened. Well, then that becomes a real important part of your research, doesn't it?
Absolutely. My late great mentor Bill Brand was always big at taking a lot of copious notes on Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that, where he had a filing cabinet full of notes over the 35, 40 years he did that. 45 years. Next question. We got a question from Mick too. Have there been any credible reports in the area of the tail of the dragon, or are there too many tourists there now?
Well, the tourists are just on the road, not necessarily in the forest that surround it. And yes, that is in that general area is one of my big prime research areas. Yeah.
The tail of the dragon.
I live on Chickamauga Lake.
There you go.
There you go.
Cool.
I live on Chickamauga Lake, so yes, I do research in this area.
Is there any finding track with Laurie? Any seasonal activity or a season of increased activity?
I really, really like the spring and really like the fall around here. Honestly, the summer is too hot, and the humidity here. I mean, it was 100 degrees today. It's so hot and muggy. I think even the Bigfoots are sitting in a creek somewhere, splashing. They're not out roaming around.
Yeah. Plus,
the snakes are prevalent too.
Now,
there's so much greenery you can't see anything in the summer.
Right, and like I said, the rhododendron and the mountain laurel along all those creeks in East Tennessee, you can't see 3 foot past that mountain laurel. Something can be standing there watching you. I mean, watching a whole family walk down a trail. I mean, even a popular trail, something like, for instance, Cades Cove. I firmly believe there are Bigfoots in Cades Cove. Firmly believe it. But, you can't get in there at night. They close down at sunset. You have to have special backpacking permits to get into this one area. But I firmly believe that there are Bigfoots in there. But, you're not going to see them all the time.
So Mick said something about being zapped as people with serotonin, but here's my thing with serotonin imbalances. It's a rarity. It's not a very common thing. Yes, I'm sure there is a community of people that have serotonin imbalances. But I just don't see the relation there.
I'm going to tell you something. So I after a few of these things happened to me, I did have a slew of medical tests done because I wanted to see if something was wrong with me.
Right.
Nothing wrong with me physically, maybe mentally.
Well,
there you go.
I, for one, am a firm believer that whatever these things do, that we've theorized it could be infrasound related, but whatever they do, they definitely can do something. Don't know what it is, but it can make you have those weird feelings, those creeped out feelings, the discomfort. I've had that with the discomfort in my ear several times. And it was always on the side that was facing the creature, or the side nearest the creature. Like if it was on my left side, I would get some fluttering in that left ear. If it was one off to the right, I would get the flutter on that side. And that became a tool, actually. That became a tool once you recognize how to use it. Okay, I need to be looking over in this general area. There's something over there. And sure enough.
See, now the funny thing is that when Chris, you mentioned that, it was 2006 when I got the 4-Dan cast, and we smelled that big boy walking by us because we didn't see it, but we heard it, and then we found the track, but we also smelled it too. Came in real fast, bang, just like that, and then quick as it came, it left. And I'll tell you what, I'll repeat it. It smells like death, musk, wet dog, skunk, garbage, all rolled up into one. Right. Being an ex-medic, I've smelled death before, and it was worse than that. worse.
Got to have a strong stomach not to be
Right. But it was gone. I mean, it came and it went like that. It was like there, like, oh my, that's got to be one of those. Because we heard we heard something moving heavy, and then we smelled it, and then we're like, oh, what the hell just happened? And then the smell disappeared, and we never smelled it again. Never.
Fortunately, I've never smelled that.
And then it was 2011 is when I had that ear flutter.
Mm-hmm.
Go in, and again, very unusual for me to be in my area, but I think it's there was one there that did not like people. I'm pretty sure that, because you start to know, because there was that one that just did not like people, that smell in 2006.
Right.
We had then 2000, we had the screaming event with the Whitesels, where they went down in the ravine and they got screamed and escorted out of the area where they could see it out of the corner of their eyes. And in this case, I go in, I start feeling, man, I feel like I'm being watched. It's really creepy here. I'm feeling, kind of dreadful. And then all of a sudden, boom, the ear starts fluttering.
Right.
And then I remember calling you saying, I thought you were crazy about that, man.
I remember that, yeah.
I go, but it just happened to me, and I can't effing explain it in my good old New York accent.
They can do something. Don't know what.
Right.
The theory is that it could be infrasound, but we don't know.
I'm fairly certain. I mean, it would have to be infrasound. What else could it be? A pheromone release may be something. It may be the only other thing, but I don't understand how that would cause an ear to flutter. Right. Infrasound is a sound wave which could. I mean, we've seen the infrasound studies from the UK where it would cause. Now, Lori, I don't know. You know this interesting story. I love telling this story about infrasound. Is that you remember the movie Paranormal Activity?
Sure.
Okay. Now, did you see it in the movie theaters or did you see it at home?
In the theater, which I said I wouldn't go back to a theater and see movies like that because they scare me.
Right. But when you watch it at home, were you scared?
Not as scared, no.
Why?
Because I was in the comfort of my own home.
No.
That may have been part of it.
Because but the director layered infrasound in the scary parts of the movie, which they could project at that range in the movie theaters. Yes.
Right. Over the sound system in the movie theater.
I never saw it
crap.
I never saw it in the movie theater. While I thought it was interesting and it was entertaining, I wasn't scared. I was like, this is pretty good, but I'm not scared.
Well, I'm a scaredy cat on movies.
But you remember they were watching the I mean, that's why the movie did so great, was because people getting like the crap scared of them was because of that layered infrasound. It was getting them like, oh, they start getting creeped out and everything. And yeah, so that's one of the very interesting things. They layered infrasound in the movie theaters. So a lot of people that I've talked to say, I saw it at home. Were you ever scared? No, not really. Well, why did this get to be known as the most scariest movie out there? Because they layered infrasound on it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, that's what I do, though. I mean, I'm into that behavior thing and all that mind stuff.
And Mick says that also many people who are diagnosed with clinical depression are prescribed serotonin reuptake. I don't know what that is. Inhibitors.
Reuptake inhibitors.
And they complain of being zapped. Yeah, that's a very, very distinct possibility that could be what explains that zap feeling for some people.
That's
I agree with you, but that doesn't mean that when it happens when you're near Bigfoot, that doesn't explain it. I think we're looking at something else possible.
I'm not clinically depressed.
No.
And hey, you know what? Even if I was clinically depressed, I'm not taking any medicine for it. That's like a double entendre. You got to be clinically depressed and take the medicine.
I got to look at Mick's got a good point. It is possible for people to experience that are taking that medication.
So and that's the thing, when you interview somebody, and I talk about this, I talked about this in What Would Sasquatch Do, my third book.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I talk about the interview process in not necessarily getting down into the nitty gritty of what medications do what to people. because I am not an MD and I'm not a pharmacist. So I try to avoid that at least. But I do mention that, hey, you know what, that I do ask people about their mental health and what medications they take and stuff like that, because, you know, and what times they take that medication. And although they, you know, it's a matter of trust. I'm not going to release that information, but it helps build credibility if somebody asks to say, hey, do they do this? Do they do that? Do they take this? Do they take that? And we can start studying the medications to see what kind of effects they have, to see if this was a medication generated encounter versus something real.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
It's not meant as a slam, but it's meant to support the case more than anything. Like I said, people, the more open they are and truthful to you, the more you can support their case. And again, the most important thing I always tell everybody in research is most common sighting we get is a roadside crossing. And we all run to the areas and looking around where that roadside crossing is. Oh, I got to get out to that area. The bottom line is the behavior of the Sasquatch in that particular instance is a one-off. It's not hanging out in that area. It just crossed the road there. And that's what we call a home range activity. You're going to spin your wheels a lot, but what you can do is back up that case by getting details like, okay, where were you coming from? Where did you go? You know, did you make any stops on the way from point A to point B to point C? Okay, then you saw the Sasquatch, and then where did you go? You went home. What time did you get home? What time did you see the Sasquatch? What time did you leave? And then travel it yourself. Build the timeline. Make sure that it makes sense. Because I'm going to tell you, if somebody is BSing somebody about a roadside crossing, they're going to have no idea how long it takes to get to point A to point B and point B back to home. So it's very important. Build that timeline, because if it's a real case, hey, I drove that time. I drove that route. The times are right. Everything was perfect. You've just corroborated your witness's timeline.
Right.
And that's the main thing. It's not to bust them out in a hoax. It's to corroborate them. And when, as an investigator, we, you know, and this is out to my group, as an investigator, the more information we get, and the more we can find out for ourselves and independently corroborate what they're saying, the better it is for that witness. The better it is saying, somebody says, oh, no, it's going to stop you right there. One great example was the Bishopville Lizard Man case, where the Rawsons, that's what I mean. Once I started getting the case out, the Rawsons, had said that, you know, a dog man had bit there. They believe the dog, or not dog man, but the lizard man had come back and bit
their van or something.
Bit up their van. Yeah. And people were accusing them of, oh, they're just hoaxing. Those are tool marks. Well, I get there and I look underneath where you see all the marks on the top of it, where everybody's saying, oh, those are tool marks. I got underneath that and could correlate the bite marks on top with the mandible bite on the bottom. But the issue I have was that the bite marks were round and were canine. They were not rectangular, which is a lizard type of bite, or squarish, which is a human type of bite. So it was not a primate. It was not a lizard. It looked canine. There was blood on the vehicle. The Rawsons had a ton of cats in their residence. I lift up the hood, and inside the header bolts was cat hair. Yeah. So it made sense to me. What happened was a dog chased the cat. The cat went under the hood to hide, and the dog was trying to get at the cat and bit up the car. The blood was tested by the sheriff's department and their DEC, and it came back as canine blood. So we could prove the Rawson. But the bottom line was this. I was the unfortunate bearer of bad news to the Rawsons that this was not a lizard man. This was a dog. Before the blood test was even done. This is a dog bite. But I was able to say, listen, I can 100% tell people, you're not lying about this. You're not hoaxing this. You're just wrong about this. And that's, you know, that's the worst case scenario you can have at this point. So that
was the thing on that case. They kind of went from, you know, unless they saw a lizard man chewing on their van, right. They went from, well, my van has been damaged. It had to be the lizard man.
Well, that's because in the 80s, there was a very similar event with another gentleman. And that made the news, and it made national news. And they turned out they had Lizard Man days, and they made it like a little cult creature. And
We got somebody for our community.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. Blue Ridge Bigfoot says, Steve, give Lori my contact info. I'll send her a still from the video. We just got a baby big Bogfoot. I don't know if I have that. So send it to me too. I'll forward it off to her.
Baby Bigfoot.
Was this in North Georgia? Was this in North Georgia?
I do not know.
Blue Ridge, was this in North Georgia? It's interesting. I love to see baby Bigfoots.
So, wow. We you see how quick this goes. This show goes by. We have 24 minutes left. But I do want to talk about a little more.
Smokies, Tennessee. Okay.
So, Lori, I do want to talk about something a little more serious right now, and can you tell us about the Tanner Squatch?
I was hoping you were going to ask that. So I have an Etsy shop called Bigfoot and Me, and I've had this for a little while, but in 2019, my son Tanner, who was 22, he died of a fentanyl overdose. And he was the only one of my 3 kids that ever really cared about Bigfooting. And, he'd be like, oh, Mom, I want to go. And I don't know how serious he was about it, but, he went with me. So I sew these Bigfoots, these stuffed Bigfoots, and they come in all different sizes. And I thought, what can I do to help? Because, as a parent, you go through every question in the world on what did I do wrong? How could I have helped? I know now that I enabled him in a lot of ways that now I see that as a mama, I didn't see then. But so I started making this special Bigfoot, and it was a blonde Bigfoot with hazel eyes. Well, now I can't get the hazel eyes, so usually most of them have blue eyes. But anyway, any Bigfoot can be a Tanner Squatch, but Tanner Squatch has a heart on it, and all the money that I get from Tanner Squatches, I send to different drug rehabs every month.
Oh, that's great.
So Tanner Squatches is my pride and joy. I mean, some months I might not sell but 1 or 2. Other months I'll go to a festival or something and I'll sell a lot. And if I have a bunch of festivals in 1 month, I'll do it weekly. I'm like, okay, this week it's going to volunteer mental health, or this week it's going to whatever. And it doesn't matter whether it's $25 or $2,500. The Tanner Squatch money goes to rehab because I can't help my son anymore, but maybe $1 can help somebody else.
Lori, that is again, I'm sorry for your son, and I'm sorry for what you had to go through. And I understand this. Yeah. And I understand from the bottom of my heart, when this happens, you're too close to it. You can't see the overall picture. So don't ever blame yourself. Don't ever blame yourself. You're too close to it. You can't see it.
Right. We thought he was better. He's 22. He had a 3-year-old son at the time. We thought he was better, and he wasn't. And just to further that, there's a good thing that came from that. One is it opened my eyes about addiction. 2 is that the drug dealer actually got arrested.
Good.
And he's actually charged with 2nd-degree murder. Now, this has been 5 years. He's in jail, but he's never went to trial yet. And actually, I go to court tomorrow morning at 8:30 to see where the case is. But at least he's off the streets. He's not peddling drugs anymore.
And
The fentanyl has just been an epidemic. It's a
Oh my
plague to our
gosh.
country. It's
People
terrible.
have no idea how dangerous the fentanyl
Yes.
is. That they just, it's. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the little thing. It's like the size of a pinhead.
Right.
Is enough to kill you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Tanner actually had 30 times the lethal dose
Right.
in his system. So,
it's not just like drug addicts that are going to find fentanyl. So, no, they're these dealers. They're mixing it in with other substances.
Yeah.
Like you may be one that
because you're getting a good high. You're getting a good high.
Our average listener may be one that partakes of the.
Well, my heart goes out to you, Lori, because I mean I've seen both sides of it. I was a paramedic, and even recently, when I got hurt, I was working on an ambulance. But I spent most of my life arresting a lot of people, and a lot of them had addiction issues. A lot of them had drugs on them. And one of my last big busts I ever made, when we searched the person, they had 2 kilos of heroin on them.
Wow.
All set to go for sale. And the person was going to trial. I went to the grand jury. They indicted her. And a week later, she passed away from an overdose. Right. So, and it's an epidemic. It needs to be addressed. And
a lot of people are dying because of this so little amount.
But don't think it's because of everything. And I know if you ever think this, I want you to call me. It's not because you're a bad parent. It's because we do not understand what that drug does to people in their heads. And like I said, you think they're doing well, but they're really not. It's a good facade.
You're right. I had no idea.
Right.
I had no idea how hard it was to get off drugs in general.
I'll tell you what, when I was a very young lad and very firm in my beliefs in life, I was a little more stringent on people with addiction, a little more, strict. That was until I picked up these. And now I understood what addiction is.
Yep.
I understand what addiction is. Because I am an addict. I'm a nicotine addict.
Yeah.
Right.
You run out of cigarettes at 2:00 in the morning, you're off to the station to whatever stays open 24 hours a day to get another pack.
Now, Chris, I don't believe is a coffee drinker.
No.
But are you a coffee drinker?
Me?
Yeah.
I drink decaf.
Oh. Okay. But you got to have it in the morning, don't you?
Taste. Yeah, I just like the taste, but I don't get the buzz from the caffeine.
And first thing I'm going for, one of these in my coffee.
Yeah.
So I understand completely about addiction. It's.
I like the smell of coffee.
It tears my heart up, especially given this stuff. But do me a favor, make sure you keep one aside for me when I come up to Hocking Hills.
I will. I have several. I'll have several of them that I'm currently sewing. And like sometimes people will say, "Hey, I want a brown one with a heart. Will it still go to that same cause?" I'm like, absolutely. Because like I said, I want to be able to help somebody. And you never know if that fund might help that one person for their family not to have to go through what my family has went through in the last 5 years. And it was, he died on July 2nd, 2019. So, we just went through an anniversary of it.
I am so sorry. I mean, I can't imagine what you're going through because, my kids are here. So I can't imagine what that feels like. I'm so sorry.
And I hope you never do.
Yeah.
Kids are not supposed to die before.
But I am serious as I'm serious as a guy rushing up somebody being perp walked out of a Dallas garage. If you feel down and start blaming yourself, I want you to call me.
I will. Thank you.
I've had experiences in my life where I have kind of blamed myself, even though I had a best friend commit suicide on me.
Wow.
And he had called me several hours before. So I understand kind of the part. I understand that I don't understand losing a child, but I do understand the guilt, almost like survivor's guilt. I do understand that. And,
right.
Right. Deep breath. Now we're going to talk about something funny. All right. So Matt Johnson, Todd Standing, and a guy from Rocky Mountain Sasquatch are all in a car. Never mind. That's bad.
Oh, no.
Really now?
More
See
questions.
Tom Biscardi hitchhiking on the side of the road. All right. So we get
Eric Beckford would start one out by, I saw the Bigfoot wearing a shirt hitchhiking down the side of the road. You remember that episode, Steve? He told him, Eric, that wasn't a Bigfoot, that was a bum. This is some of the old ancient Squatch detective radio from back in the Blog Talk radio days.
Bristol.
This car go off a cliff.
Yeah, the question is, which one goes to heaven? Just kidding. This is just
interesting.
A joke. Yes, this joke has been sponsored by Snapple. All right, now you have forced me into it.
Get me a Snapple.
I was waiting for it. Yes. Don't give me a Snapple. Diet Peach Snapple.
I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Lori.
What? Which one?
Shooting Bigfoot.
Shooting Bigfoot.
I don't think so.
With,
there's wonderful Biscardi. Morgan Matthews.
Matthews.
I don't think so. Shooting Bigfoot. I have to look that one up.
Yeah, you're gonna get a good laugh. Unfortunately, it has my old dear friend Dallas Gilbert in there, and although I didn't believe half the stuff Dallas was taking pictures of, he was a good-hearted man and believed what he saw. He was a fan of this show. He would call in every once in a while. We had the call-in line when we were on Blog Talk. Would call in and say hello and talk. He had no love for Biscardi. He had no love for Mr. Dyer or any of those folks. And so it's good to see. But yes, there's the infamous line in that movie.
Joan, get me a Snapple.
Where he gets mad at Morgan Matthews and he walks off and you hear him in the background, Joan, get me a Snapple. Truth is stranger than fiction, I suppose. Any questions we have left?
Who was Dallas's research partner? Wayne
Burton.
Wayne Burton. Now, I liked Wayne. Wayne actually commented that his first Bigfoot sighting was in, I think it was Greene County, Kentucky. That's just across the creek over here.
Yeah, Wayne was a big-hearted guy, just not a rich guy. I'm not going to knock him at all.
He was down-to-earth, good old boy, okay?
So, Lori, what's your thoughts on the Patterson-Gimlin film?
I still think it's real. I do. And maybe I just want to believe it's real. But if it's not real, then what are we just seeing things that, I don't know, how do you put this? If it's not real, then we're still seeing stuff, so it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a moot point, really. But right. I still believe, even with all the the digital.
Right. If the Patterson-Gimlin film is not real, it was still based on something that was.
Right, because if not, what are we seeing? Then we're calling our own self liars. So I don't care whether it's real or not. It's a moot point.
Well, what was based on your sightings that you've had, Lori? Did you get the impression that these creatures were like a type of human or more ape-like? What was your general impression?
Gosh, you're gonna get me in trouble.
No, this is we're just talking theory here, and you're just
I really feel like they're a mix.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I believe they're a mix of human and ape. That's how I feel now. Maybe BFRO would not like me saying that,
Well,
but I believe you have to be true to yourself and what you believe. And, next week I could find something that makes me believe something totally different.
Right.
I think there's probably some different creatures out there that we're all calling Bigfoots, but there's different species.
Different species.
You ever thought that?
Well, we had that question pop up, and I want to put a couple of ideas into your mind. Let's see if this works. It's my thing that we're not looking at different species of Bigfoot. We're looking at different races of Bigfoot.
Okay, that's probably a better word, and I've said it many times that we all, it's kind of like the paranormal and all that. We want to throw it into one bowl, but it's not necessarily one bowl. I mean, let's go to Dogman. Don't even want to talk about that really, but let's go to Dogman. How long have you heard things about werewolves? Okay. Centuries. So in basically, isn't a Dogman the same thing as a werewolf, except you're not saying it changes in from a person to a beast, but it's the same general idea.
Dire wolf, werewolf.
Right. So why can't there be different breeds, races, as you called it, of Bigfoots? So some say those in the north are more aggressive and grow bigger. Those in the south, what somebody asked tonight, if I thought they were aggressive or relaxed or whatever. Maybe different regions have different types.
I mean, if you think about it and think of it like this, like you can go to the island of Crete in Greece, and you have these kind of olive skinned people, very pleasant, right? But then you go to North Sentinel Island off the coast of India, and you have these dark skinned people that are very aggressive and will kill you if you step foot on their island. Right? Different behaviors, different areas, but guess what? They all have the same DNA running through their bloods. Different looks, different appearances.
Right.
How about a pygmy? From Papua New Guinea, a pygmy. Look different. They're very short. They're kind of stocky and stubby. They're different skin color than, me or Chris and you. But their DNA is still the same in their blood. So you got to kind of think of it that way, because I really think that for us to say, it's a big reach for science for us to say, hey, there is this upright walking primate called a Bigfoot here, or a Sasquatch, or whatever you want to call it. I think it's even a fantastical grab if we say there's several species of them, because not a one has been found. Whereas at least the gorillas, they found the lowland gorilla first. And they kept talking about this huge, big one, these big ones that are up in the mountains. No, they don't exist. It took them another 35 years to prove that the mountain gorilla existed.
Right. So you and I were on the same wavelength, basically.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's just different ones out there, and I think maybe you do have an area where they're aggressive.
Right.
And I've been very fortunate I hadn't come across those.
And Chris, we've proven again we can talk about a bunch of nonsense throughout a show, but have some nuggets of wisdom littered throughout the show. Chris, you're on mute. There you go.
There's always something good if you dig deep enough.
Well, it is 10:55. And I'll start out by saying, Lori, thanks for coming on. I hope you had fun.
I did have fun. It was great. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. I think we'll be in the same little area with our little booth set up.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be doing a Squatch-D TV booth. So
Cool.
I think I talked to you about that. We're gonna be doing
maybe we'll be right beside each other.
right.
That'll
I'm
be
gonna be
fun.
interviewing people on the that want to talk, get them on the
Mhm.
air, and should be a fun time.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you a big hug when I see you too, by the way. So
But I like hugs.
yeah,
I like hugs.
don't let the hubby get jealous.
I don't care. Look, my anniversary, I'll be married 39 years next weekend.
God
To the
bless you.
same person. Okay.
Doing
To the
something
same
right.
person. I guess. I just don't want to trade them in. It's too much to train another one.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. The new ones are a lot more upkeep.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So, Chris, do your thing, brother.
Again, I want to say thanks, Lori, for coming on. It was great talking to you. Always enjoy talking to somebody that speaks my language.
Yeah.
I
You're
wanna
close
thank
to me. I'll have to come see you
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah,
We'll
right
do
up in the
Squatch.
middle of Kentucky, not too far from Nashville. But I want to thank everybody over in the chat. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Sunday night. And always, I say this all the time, but I say it because it's true. You guys are the best audience we could ever hope and pray for in this community, and we're so pleased, honored, thrilled, and humbled to have you every week. And if it's the first night watching, any new guys are in there, new gals, remember, hit the subscribe, smash the like button, give us a share if you can. It helps the channel, helps the algorithm, helps people find us, and we'll talk, talk about real Bigfoot research.
That's right. And don't forget to hit the bell.
Oh yeah, need that. Ring that bell.
Chris, thank you. And again, Lori, thanks for coming on. We had a blast here tonight.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you asking me.
Oh, anytime. And folks, again, we'll be back here Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, with all new Bigfoot Friday night Bigfoot show. We don't know what's going to happen just yet. We kind of like to play. Friday nights are kind of like the seat of our pants. So
we see what happens during the week, and it could be news, it could be looking at a new sighting, it could be anything.
It could be Steve being cranky again. Get off the lawn. But here we are at the end. Now, why am I not being able to get this to the right page for whatever reason? I'm sitting there often too. But anyway, everybody have a great week. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. And of course, keep on squatching, guys. We'll catch you next Sunday night, 9 p.m. or Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Squatch-D TV.
Good night,
We
guys.
thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really
That's
like
right.
our content, you should consider becoming a member. And it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.
Ba ba. Ba ba ba. Ba da ba ba ba. Hang on, we're still on.
Good to see everybody again.